Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another recap of Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 9, episode 10, Like a Bat Out of Hell. I said this before, and I'm going to say this again. I do not feel like both Scott couples need to be up here. It is time for one of them to go because they give us the bare minimum. And most of the time, when we see them on our screens and they're talking about things, it's always someone else's issue. It's never really their own, especially when it comes to Kimmy and Tisha. And at this point, I'm tired of it. They have been on television so much to me that they are very aware of the content that they give us. The season 9 them is not seasons 1 and 2 them. And because of that, I find myself not connecting with them at all, but more so being irritated by a lot of the members on this cast. But do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this. Tell me my opinion on not my opinion. Tell me your opinion on it. Do you guys feel like both Scott couples should be up here? Put it down below. So we begin the episode with Trisha and Sharon. It should show you that there's really not a lot going on here with the fact that this is yet another episode that began with Trish. I do not understand why we are watching the same conversation that she just had last episode with Dr. Francis, now being had yet again, this time with her friend Sharon. The story isn't making sense to me because she's telling her friend Sharon that Ken stepped away for a little while because of the fighting, but he's back in the house now. What is a little time? How many days, how many weeks? Was it a month? No, I don't think it was much time at all. On top of that, why did he come back so quickly? What did you do differently that made him decide to come back? Did you guys really work on things? So Sharon claims that Ken brings balance and she wants Trish to be more vulnerable with him. To me, this is about so much more than about Trish being vulnerable. So I wish Sharon didn't tell her to work on that. I think that what she needs to work on is herself. The vulnerability will come with time, but if Trish isn't grounded within, how is she expected to function in other ways? It's just not making sense to me. I feel like there's a lot of issues with Trish that she's not addressing. And that one session with Dr. Francis didn't even begin to tell it. I halfway wish that he would go back and watch all of the episodes with them on it so he could see what it is that she's not showing him. Because I still don't think Dr. Francis knows a lot of what's going on. And I think he's actually a great is he a psychologist? I think he's a great therapist. I'll call him that for now. I'm not trying to diminish his role. I just don't know his credentials. So Trish let Sharon know that she did start her counseling, and despite her apprehension, she was open, that they talked about her emotional attachments and the passing of her parents and all the things that are associated with it. And as she begins to speak on it, she starts to cry again. She says that they spoke about how she bottles things up to the point where what happens is she explodes or she goes to the gym, neither of which is helping her deal with her issues. So Sharon is surprised because even while they're having the conversation, her friend that she doesn't see cry often is crying. Trish feels like this is a sign of weakness. And you hear Sharon say, like, it's not. I think that a lot of people feel this way because of the way that we were raised. I remember being a little girl and often being told not to cry. Stop crying. I even got told stop crying when my mother would beat me. She'd be like, stop crying. I didn't give you nothing to cry about. It was something that I heard often. I never growing up saw my mom cry. It wasn't a thing. Now it's a completely different story. But when I was younger, I did not see my mom cry. I did not see my mother cry for the first time until the day that she was going to prison, if I'm being completely honest. And that is the first time that I saw my mother cry. Before then, I never saw that. And my mom went away when I was in like middle school. So that's like, I think I was about to be 14. So we'll say that's 13 years of me never seeing my mom cry, right? Um I think that Trisha ain't no think. Trisha does see it as a weakness. And Sharon is like, no, it's not. It's showing that, you're human. And she asks her what Dr. Francis said. And she says, Dr. Francis said the same thing, that basically, crying is actually a part of being strong. I didn't feel like that when I was younger, but I feel like that now. There is such a sense of vulnerability that comes with those raw emotions. Now, I do believe that you should protect your space and you shouldn't allow everyone to see that side of you. But I also don't feel like me sitting here crying is a sign of weakness. I do feel like there's strength in it because there's a level of vulnerability that occurs when you do that. So she says the session was hard, but she did feel better after the session. She even went to go to her parents' graves to visit with them. And that's something that she never did, something that she had no desire to do or she couldn't bring herself to do. And because she tapped into certain emotions while talking to Dr. Francis, she felt the need to go do this. So she says it's been one session and she feels like her and Ken are on a better track. I was like, girl, you need to focus on yourself. Like, I hate that this keeps coming back to Ken because Ken is another story. I do not feel like Ken is that great of a guy, and I can't let it go. I just don't. I feel like Ken has unhealthy habits as well, and I want him to go to counseling too. I want this to be a thing where they're doing things individually because Ken, why are you so attracted to women who aren't available? I'm just saying. Um so the next scene is Kimmy. I said Kimmy doesn't have anything else to film. So she decided to hang with Tisha, Destiny, and Trish to make soap balls. 1 minute they're called soap balls, another minute they're called bath bombs. They did some stuff with fragrance that you can put in the tub. I already knew that this scene was going to be about Nell because of all the days to plan on doing this. Why would you schedule this right before Nell was planning to have an event? So Destiny says, "Oh, I thought you didn't invite Nell because Tisha was here." Destiny, you saying that was messy because you know that didn't have anything to do with that situation because all of you are going to meet up later on. So you were trying to start something there. Anyways, so before they talk about Nell, they talk about Lance. Tisha makes a joke about, because she says that they're good. So she's like, "Oh, okay, so you ready to be a stepmom?" Destiny lets them know she told Lance that she would go out with Twan, and that's when she found out they were godbrothers and that he gave their blessing and that they're good. He apologized for, not telling her about the baby, blah, blah, blah. Now, Kimmy tells us it wouldn't matter either way if Destiny knew if they were godbrothers or not, because rules change when it comes to Destiny. That's a true thing. We've seen it on this show. She had different expectations for herself when it came to her relationship with Mel, and apparently Sonny did some things to her that she felt was so messed up, but I guess it doesn't apply to God brothers and things of that nature. Am I saying it's the same thing? No, it's definitely not the same thing. We don't know how serious her and Lance got. We don't know whether it was deeper than it was, because at first I thought it was just for show, but I don't know. Either way, Destiny does what Destiny wants to do. Um, I'm just so disappointed in the storyline that we're getting with Destiny. I feel like she is so much more than just bringing all these different guys onto the show, which there's nothing wrong with it. I just hate that they're all affiliated with each other. Like, you can't find people who don't run in this love and marriage Huntsville circle. Anyways, so he blessed it and he said, just talk to my mom. So this is when Destiny's like, Tisha, when I told Nell that, you said that she left early because of the baby situation, she said it's not true. We now know. I couldn't remember because there's so much time has passed and so much stuff has gone on. But Nell did say that. She did. So Tisha wasn't lying when she said it. Now Tisha's like, I could have sworn she did say that, which she did. We don't get the clip of it until later on, but she did. So Destiny, who supposedly just made up with Nell, repeats what Nell said, which she did tell her to say it, but I wouldn't have said it because I would have known that it would have caused issues. So she says Letitia Scott needs to mind her effing business. And she said it in a voice that Nell said. I do feel like she does because Tisha's acting like she didn't talk about her, but you're obviously talking about her because you went back and you said something to Destiny about what Nell said. So you don't want her to talk about you. Nell doesn't want you to talk about her. Everybody just needs to keep their names out each other's mouths. And all of this could be alleviated because y'all do go around and talk about each other in different settings for the purposes of this show. Kimmy and Tisha would be mad if people were walking around saying stuff about them and their husbands. We've seen that play out, right? So let's not act like Nell doesn't have a reason to be upset that you keep on talking about Lance. Is she wrong when she lies? Yeah, she's wrong because Nell, you said it. You said that you had to leave early because he found out that a baby was coming. Own it. Stand in it. It's not that big of a deal. So the whole NDA conversation comes up. Tristan says, Nell had a problem with the way that you spoke to Chris, and I told her to talk to you. To which Kimmy and Tisha said, we already talked about it. All these women seem to have a lot of conversations with each other, in my opinion, and not really forgive, because we even see next week, if Nell and them had whatever they had going on in this episode at the end, they made up. Why is Chris and Nell in the preview for next week going to be talking about the situation yet again? And it seems like there's an issue. These problems don't ever really get resolved. So now Tisha feels a way about it because Tisha feels like this is the same thing that keeps happening over and over again. She acts like we're good and then she goes and talks to someone else and we're not. I got to side with Tisha on that because if you sat down with her at that coffee thing when Tisha left out just to come right back and y'all made up and y'all said y'all were good, it should have been left at that. If you wanted to tell Tisha to keep your name out her mouth, you should have told Tisha that yourself, because guess what, Nell? It would have alleviated all of this other stuff and the Scotts would have had to find another storyline. That's my opinion. You guys tell me yours. So it's adult game night. There really wasn't a lot to this episode. When Kimmy said that Nell had to get ready for a function, an event, I thought she actually meant like a real event, like something for her business. I didn't know that she meant game night. I feel like Nell could have made soap bombs with them. So the night is called Fletchtivities. Kimmy and Maurice are the first to arrive, then Trisha and the Hulk. Why are these ladies wearing so many bodycon dresses and mini skirts and sweater shirts when y'all know that you guys are about to play a bunch of games? If you tell me it's a game night, I'm going to be in some chill clothes that I can move around in just in case so I don't accidentally show my goodies. But I guess they're filming a show and they want to look cute. So they are all looking at the table and Trish sees what looks like a game that's going to involve some balls. So they laugh about the fact that they're going to be messing with balls all day. So Nell is like, okay, did I miss something? And that's when Kimmy lets Nell know that the ladies met up earlier and they made soap balls and that she wasn't invited, which of course now makes Nell feel like she was left out. All Kimmy had to do was extend the invitation. Now, whether Nell was able to come or not, that would have been determined by Nell. But at least say, look, I know you have an event on this day. If you want to come, you can. If you cannot, understand. But you not saying anything at all did kind of make it seem like you're icing people out. But Nell, you wanted to be a part of this group. So be careful what you wish for, because you very much so are an outlier. You are. So Nell wonders if being left out was intentional. I think it personally was, because she could have easily let her know. Martell walks in and he's dateless. Y'all, at some point, Martell opens up his hoodie and he has that same picture of him and Ariane where she's wearing a hat on his shirt. He can't wait to have her on the show. Own, at this point, give the clearance. Give the clearance. Because this show is messy. Like, I remember at one point Mel had said that Own didn't want her on this show. But with all the crap that they got going on, y'all aren't giving us Black excellence anymore. Just put her on the show. Let's see what she has to offer. I'm serious, because you keep on like making little suggestions and mentioning her name now. So just go ahead and have her on so we can see what it's about. So then Tisha and Marceau arrive. Now look, Tisha looks good. Tisha looks good. I don't know what Tisha's done differently. I don't know if she has a different stylist or what, but Tisha looks good. So he and Martell dap up. And Tisha's saying how this is her first time seeing Martell since he said all that stuff on the internet. And if Marceau can be cordial with Martell, then she could be cordial with Nell. It is so odd to see people who went as low as both parties went, because Tisha's made some allegations about Martell and his sexuality. Martell made some comments about Tisha and the things she did or didn't do prior to getting married, or even while being married, saying that she messed with the homie. And then Ariane and Martell went and did an interview where they were talking. Well, I think that was first. Ariane and Martell went and did an interview where they were talking with one of the mistresses that both Marceau and Maurice supposedly did things with in Vegas. So there's a lot of mud that has been thrown. But y'all are going to be cordial with each other to the point where you're dapping one another up. The both of them must have a lot of dirt on each other, because it's not making sense to me. Y'all tell me what you think. So Destiny then walks in, and she's walking in with the Hulk's friend Will. I'm telling you now, both Destiny and Lance brought those dates to this game night to be spiteful, because this was not a couple's date night situation. So when she walks in with Will, everyone is surprised. Ken looks really bothered by Will coming in with her because he says he didn't know. Did he need to tell you that he slid in her DMs, or like what? Did you know? Or is this your first time finding out that he even did that? So they were talking prior to this about whether or not Lance and Destiny were going to arrive together. So Maurice jokes and says, I guess that answers the Lance question, and everybody's laughing. Now Destiny says that Will jumped into her DM and asked her on a date. So even though that she knew, in her words, that the peanut gallery would make fun of her showing up with him, she thought that this would be a great opportunity. She says she's single and she can date whoever she wants. Yes, she is. She is very much so single. But Destiny, you're acting like the optics of this isn't messy. It is messy that everyone that you're dating is someone who is in either direct relation of each other or close friends or in this TV circle. So Lance then walks in, and his petty tail done brought a date too. Her name is Kiera. I think she said she's 31, and at some point she went to Nell's daycare facility. It's been around for 30 years. That's amazing that it's been around as long as it has. I think maybe it was in the family from the beginning. Either way, he walks in with his date. Kiera, that man has multiple children, and he just now has a little one. That's not something you want, hon. I don't know if she has children or not, but run. Don't take him seriously. He has enough that he needs to focus on too. Same way I'm saying Trish needs to focus on her kids and herself, Lance needs to focus on himself and his kids. So he said that he thought that Destiny was going to bring a date, and he expected that date to be his godbrother Twan. So he decided to bring Kiera. Now, he has a date, but it bothers him that she brought Will as a date. I'm over them in this story. And the fact that you're saying you're giving things your blessing and you're okay with this and you're okay with that when you're really not shows that there's some things that you too need to work on, Lance. So they do the flip the cup with the balls. Maurice's twin team wins. They then do musical spoons. I've never seen that before. It's instead of musical chairs, you put a bunch of spoons in the middle of the table, and when the music stops, you have to grab a spoon. Whoever doesn't have a spoon gets eliminated. So they go a few rounds. It ends up being the Scott brothers and then Martell, and then Maurice and Martell are the last two standing. Everybody talks about how ironic it is. Martell wins. But Marceau pulls out another sleeve. I guess he had it up his sleeve or whatever. Either way, Martell won. I actually did enjoy watching the games. I like stuff like that. So Marceau and Martell are being peaceful while the ladies aren't. So Kimmy lets them know, the girls know, that she let Nell know about the ladies hanging out, and that because of this, now she wants Tisha and Nell to talk. Now, Tisha doesn't want to talk because she told Destiny about her problem. She didn't tell Tisha herself that she had a problem with her. I do agree that if Nell had an issue with what was said, the same way that she said what she said to Destiny, she should have called Tisha herself and said it. Now, Kimmy tries to get them to talk. Nell can already tell it's about to be some bull. So she gets filled in, and Kimmy says, like, look, Destiny said that, you said that Tisha needs to keep your name out her mother effing mouth. And Nell's like, yeah, I did say it, and I'm in it. I personally agree. I now know that Nell was lying about the whole situation. I just don't feel like it should be this big of an issue where you're talking about it after the fact with multiple people. Let Destiny and Lance do whatever it is that they're going to do. But now you got to be honest about stuff too and stop lying, because you went as far as to have Lance say that you didn't know anything about the kid. But then later on now here you're saying that you did. That's why he left. We get a flashback of it. So get your story straight. Will and the guys are talking on the side. Will wants to know what they know about Destiny. And one of the guys says she's a good, wholesome girl. I think it was Maurice. And Will isn't trying to hear that. To which Lance is like, oh, wow. Okay. Will, just because someone dates a lot of men doesn't mean that a lot of those men get to see another side of her. And I didn't like this whole conversation because they're asking him what he likes about Destiny and things of that nature. And the last thing he wants is a wholesome girl. And he's talking about how good Destiny looks in a bodysuit, and how a body, yeah, I think it was a bodysuit, but anyways, how good she looks in clothes. And he didn't notice that before. And I don't like how he's just making it about her looks. That's a turn off to me. The guys feel like Will is a rebound, and can make some type of statement. I don't really understand, but basically, like, Will's not the type that you want to rebound with. Are you saying Will's the type that you want to settle down with? Are you saying Will's the type that's going to play the field too? Like, what do you all think that Ken meant by that? So all the ladies are outside. I don't think they should have ever had this conversation, especially not if it was going to be a one-on-one thing, because when there are audiences, things tend to get messy. It's very clear that Nell is by herself and none of these ladies are going to side with her, because I feel like there were times where Kimmy was raising her voice, as was Tisha, and they ain't called none of that out. They just called out Nell. Now, Nell says, look, I don't want to argue, Kimmy. If we're going out here, I don't want to argue. So they go outside, and Kimmy's like, I thought y'all were good. What happened? So Tisha starts by asking, when Nell said that she needs to keep, that I need to keep my mother effing name out of your mouth. When did she say that, Destiny? Destiny says, she said it because, no, she said, why did she say that, Destiny? Because I wrote, wouldn't that be a question that you ask now? Destiny says, it's because you told me that they left LA early because of delivery. So now it's like, that's not true. That's not true. You do need to keep my name out of your mouth. Tisha then says, Nell, so why did you guys leave early? I personally don't feel like that's any business of Tisha's. I don't. But at the same time, Nell, you got to be honest. Period. So Nell says, it's none of your business why I left early. I don't owe you anything. I do agree with that. But you lied about it, so you got to clear it up now, Nell. So Tisha feels like Nell is giving her an attitude. The both of them are giving each other an attitude. Tisha feels like just because she's passive aggressive and because she laughs here and there, that's not seen as being confrontational. Tisha feels like it's not. She's done this before. But Tisha, just because you aren't a certain octave doesn't mean that you aren't being aggressive too. I'm just saying, or that you aren't loud too. Now, was she calmer of the two? Yes, she was. But I think that in this case, Kimmy kind of escalated the situation. Anyways, so Nell says, my granddaughter is off limits. We then see the flashback with Nell saying that Lance had to get back because his child was on the way, which means you did basically say y'all left early because of the birth of your granddaughter. So it's a lie, Nell. You lied. So they go back and forth some more. Nell claims at this point she's good. She don't want to talk about it. Y'all should have left it at that. Kimmy then starts it up again because she doesn't like when people says it's good. Kimmy, you can't sit here later on and tell us that the yelling and the arguing bothers you and Nell was ready to shut it down for now and you got the arguing started back up. So she says, Nell, you said keep my mother effing name out your mouth. That's not okay. So now they're going at it. And Kimmy is speaking in a raised tone. The same way I'm being a little right now, so is she. So Nell speaks in a raised tone as well. Tisha has a problem with the fact that Nell is speaking in a raised voice. Nell feels like she's being ganged up on because they all speak in a raised voice, and she didn't feel like Kimmy would do this to her. So Tisha's like, oh, she's a victim. Oh, she's a victim. Oh, she's a victim. And then the next thing you know, the guys are overhearing some of the conversation. They're already out by the whole, oh, she's a victim thing. And Kimmy starts talking about how she would dump Nell's ass, her words, in the pool if she keeps hollering at her. Nell turns towards Kimmy and says, you won't dump me in no mother F. You won't dump me no mother effing where. And now they're both standing up in each other's faces. Destiny tries to get in the middle of them. She got her arm wrapped around Nell's shoulder, which makes Nell feel like she's pulling her hair, and Nell pushes her a little bit. Kimmy is saying, I'm not your child. She's not the only one yelling though, Kimmy. You're speaking to her like she's your child as well. Nell then tells her that she'll show her who's going to get dumped. Kimmy's like, why would you say something like that? And Nell's like, because you said you would dump me. Kimmy's acting like she didn't threaten her, but Kimmy, you did. The same way you feel like keep my name out your mother effing mouth is a threat, so is you saying that you would dump her ass in the pool. It's a mess. So the ladies are all acting like Nell was the only one yelling, like Kimmy and Tisha weren't yelling at various points too. I don't like that. Be honest. Like who you like, but be honest about the situation. So I put that these people have been yelling at people since season 1. Normally, I do feel like Nell escalates situations. Nell is a liar, but we're not gonna act like Kimmy wasn't yelling too. So the guys break it up. They bring the girls inside. Kimmy says, look, my fuse is shorter than a lot of y'all realize. And now she talks about how her father was abusive and he drank and he hollered a lot and he got loud. Why are we just now hearing this? I'm not saying that she can't be triggered because I very much so believe that certain things are triggers for people. I just don't understand why we're hearing about it just now. She says, so people who yell a lot, very loud, don't work for her, which Nell does later admit that this is something that they've spoken about before. So she's obviously said something about it off camera. Kimmy then's like, look, I shouldn't have said, if you keep hollering at me, I'm going to dump you in the pool. However, we're not going to keep doing the hollering thing, no matter how normal it is in your world. Now, the way she said that, Kimmy checked Nell in that instance. And Nell didn't have anything to say to that. Nell accepts the apology and she apologizes too. Where Tisha lets us know she's not apologizing. Well, she didn't want an apology from you. Tisha doesn't want Nell talking about her. Y'all just need to stop talking about each other. Nell and Kimmy hug it out. She apologizes again. She's like, Nell, I told you this is a trigger for me. And I thought that they seemed like they were actually okay. Until we see that next week, Nell's gonna be complaining about it a fletch. So are they really okay? If there's something that I missed that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down in the comment section below. I can't wait for this season to be over. These people are on my nerves. Maybe it will get better. I don't know. We shall see. Until next time, peace.